What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I'm here today for day 11 of training camp, and there is quite a bit to talk about. But before we get to training camp, there was some giant news today that we are going to discuss, and it is absolutely fantastic. It is wonderful news. So, before I get into the details, let me quickly tell you what it is. The Dolphins did restructure Xavian Howard's contract, and now, they restructured his contract. And so, look, I am happily going to admit that for the first time in quite some time, I've actually been proven incorrect on one of my bigger picture item evaluations and predictions, right? Because, look, and let's keep things in context though, because up until this point, right, in particular the past couple days, and then even a little bit more so throughout the the first couple weeks of training camp, all of the data pointed towards this was not going to end well for the Dolphins, and that at the very least Xavian Howard was not going to play for them, and most likely it was going to end in a trade, right? Because first day of training camp, he requests a trade. A week goes into training camp, Xavian Howard still says there's no progress. A couple days ago, there was still no progress, blah, blah, blah. But they were really, the gap was never really that big, because Xavian Howard obviously wasn't asking for very much, right? So, got to keep this in context. But I am happy to say that I was proven wrong on this. Now, let's add a little bit more context. So what changed, particularly over the past couple days and over the past couple weeks? So, it is worth noting and discussing a little bit the connection that Xavian Howard had to the Deshaun Watson conversation, and how Tua plays a role in this, right? So, now, look, we all know that before, the start of the new league year, before he got all these allegations, the Dolphins had a package put together, and they were just waiting for the new league year to pull that trigger and get Deshaun Watson. Now, luckily for us, that didn't happen because of the allegations, but what changed is that we came into training camp and Tua silenced the Deshaun Watson conversation because he's been balling out in training camp, which is fantastic, because that helped to cement the fact that we weren't going to trade for Deshaun Watson. Now, Xavian Howard was going to be part of that package. So that's part of the reason, to keep it fair and keep everything in context, why that, something with Xavian Howard was also in limbo. So you have that, and then you also combine it with the fact that through training camp to this point, our secondary, even Byron Jones, have been getting pretty roasted, right? Noah has not been looking very good. He's had a pretty bad camp overall. But the secondary has been getting roasted. And so they have really been exposed without Howard there, and have really shown how much that they need him. So that's what's changed in the past couple weeks, right? And so, even up until the past couple days or whatever, Howard was still in his holdout situation, right? With the injury, which, by the way, you can now reasonably expect that he's going to heal from that injury and get back with the team. And so I was wrong about the fact that I thought he was going to just not show up to camp. I had already admit that, but he was still holding out, right? Now they just proved me wrong altogether, which makes me super happy, because it means good things, right? The drama can go away. They're going to have Howard. Now he's going to be able to get back with the team in full capacity. I feel a lot better about the defense. And look, it was the Dolphins' responsibility all around. They started this and created this situation, and it was their responsibility to fix it, especially because Howard was doing everything he could to make it a win-win and show his, good faith and so on and so forth. So, and it's wonderful. And like I said, you know, with Howard there, I certainly feel a million times better about the Dolphins defense. And so, you know, does that mean that I think that everything is going to be, you know, just magically fixed and that everything's all better? No, not necessarily, right? Because I still do have my concerns with the rest of the secondary. You know, as you guys know, I think Byron Jones is overrated. You know, obviously Noah's been struggling. I think Nick Needham's just, you know, a good to, you know, slightly above average player. You know, McCourty's whatever. He's serviceable veteran, but he's getting older. You know, Xavien Howard is a rookie, and as good as he may be, he's a rookie, you know. Eric Rose just kind of whatever to me, just kind of, you know, slightly above average maybe, right? And the rest of them are just kind of whatever. So I still have my concerns there, right? As I meant, and that's my third biggest concern up to this point. The offensive line still scares the shit out of me. That's my second biggest concern, and then injury/COVID have been my first biggest concern. And because it seems like every day there are more injuries, which unfortunately we actually have some more today, which we will get into when we start talking about training camp. But to continue on this Howard stuff, let's actually start getting into the details now. So Alan Pupar, you know, he puts out a few put out a few articles today that I'm going to go through. We're going to start with this one. Dolphins rework Howard's contract. The Miami Dolphins resolve the contract situation of their all-pro cornerback. The Xavian Howard issue has been settled. Thank God. Thank God they did the right thing. But again, to keep it in context, it does tie into the Tua and Deshaun Watson situation. And the things that have changed is that, you know, Tua has completely silenced that by balling out in training camp. As expected, now that he's actually healthy, because that's been the biggest thing, right? And I've always said, I've said personally, for me, it's not the person or the player, it's the potion, right? So the stuff around him, and for him in particular, he needs to be healthy, and that was obviously one of the biggest drawbacks for him last season. In addition to, they just should never have put him in to begin with. But anyway, and then obviously because the secondary has been getting roasted in camp. So those are the things that changed, but it did change, thank God. The Miami Dolphins have reworked the contract of the all-pro cornerback days after he requested a trade on Instagram. Excuse me. We're excited. I've been up here multiple times saying we've been making progress. Oh, and look, damn it, I get to give him credit for not being a liar. So there you go. He was actually telling the truth on this one. So, you know, mark that in the logbooks. He's got one instance where he told Laramie Tunsil to his face he wasn't going to trade him, and then traded him shortly thereafter. He was a liar, and he's been a liar on numerous other occasions. However, because I like to live in the world of reality and facts, this is an instance in which we can say he was proven correct and not a liar. And I was proven incorrect. And I'm actually super happy about it. You know, as much as people think that I just like to be negative, I actually hate being right as much as I am, because it's always about negative things, because nobody ever wants to listen to me when I try to warn them about it, right? I'm the dude up in the fucking, the crow's nest calling out the iceberg for the Titanic, and nobody's listening to me. Everybody just keeps partying and having a good time, right? So anyway, I'm happy, super happy to be wrong about this. But anyway, let's see. Head coach Flores said before practice Sunday, you guys probably felt like I wasn't giving you all the information. No kidding. Which I wasn't. Okay, well, at least he admits it, but we were working on it. And look, I never actually doubted that they were working on it, but the problem was they weren't offering anything substantial, right? Because even in, I think my last video or whatever, you know, I don't remember if I mentioned this, but you know, the offers that, because they either just didn't come to the table, refused everything that Xavian Howard was proposing, or countered offered with just straight bullshit, like one or two times with, like, you know, some middling incentives. Now, incentives were part of this, but we will get into the actual details of everything that happened in a minute. Let's see. We're excited to have gotten this done. We're just looking forward to it continually improving with X and really his teammates on a day-to-day basis, and we'll just try to just build and get better offensively, defensively, and in the kicking game. Howard's agent, David Cantor, took to Twitter to comment on the contract restructure. We want to thank Coach Flores, Greer, and Brandon Shore for doing something unexpected and difficult to say the least. So, look, even Cantor didn't think it was going to fucking happen. So, look, man, they get the credit because this is look, they can't, to some degree they can control the destiny of the offensive line, right? It is certainly their job to have properly evaluated these players, prioritized and picked them correctly, right, in the draft or brought over in free agency, and then to develop them. So that is certainly on this coaching staff. However, you know, these players just might not pan out. And that's also partly on the players, right? So, you know, to some degree they can control that. But this situation with Howard, the Dolphins 100% could guarantee that he remains here. And they finally offered something that, you know, made them happy. Many times over the past 8 months, we all did not expect anything to happen. The organization handled us with absolute class and professionalism. Well, I think he's being a little nice there with that last statement. Especially after having just previously acknowledged that they have been, you know, essentially telling you to fuck off this entire time. But, you know, all's well and good. They did come to an agreement, so I guess you can go ahead and talk each other up. The Dolphins gave Howard a $1 million Pro Bowl incentive and $3.5 million in additional incentives, according to NFL Network reporter Ian Rappaport. The Dolphins also rescinded the more than $90,000 in fines that Howard incurred for skipping the mandatory June minicamp. The maximum value for Howard in 2021 is at $16.3 million. The Dolphins also guaranteed about $6.8 million of his 2022 salary and agreed to revisit Howard's contract next spring. So that's where it's now. I'm going to give you some more details here in a second. But see, that's huge, right? So there are some incentives in there. There's about $4.5 million incentives, but it puts him at 16.3, which should make him higher paid than Byron Jones. Okay, check it off boxes here. But look, Dolphins also guaranteed some more guaranteed money, and 6.8 million of it. Good job, Dolphins! Holy shit. Of his 2022 salary. So next year, they didn't guarantee all of it, but they did guarantee $6.5 million. So they did a combination move here. And this is an example of how you can really manipulate cap space and contracts, right? But then revisit Howard's contract next spring too. So they're actually even saying, hey, look, man, if you ball out again, we can even revisit it. We can even, now, to be fair, they're also saying that if you know, suck, and you don't produce, then we can cut you or some shit, right? So it is that last part is a little bit of a double-edged sword. Let's keep it real. But fuck yeah, man. Fuck yeah. Okay, I'm excited about this. This is fantastic. Okay, so let's continue on. Real quick, let me just go through this because this was tweeted out by Adam Beasley. Details on Xavian Howard's contract adjustment. Let me go through this real quick just in case this article doesn't give it all. So incentives for 2021, 1 million Pro Bowl or All Pro. Number 2, 70% plus team, 3 worst categories. Equals $750,000 plus. I'm not even really sure what that means. 70% plus team, 3 worst categories. I really don't know what the fuck that means. So maybe I'll get some clarification somewhere on that. But anyway, I mean, we have some, you know, the overview of the details. I'm going in. This is some of the like really specific stuff here. Number 3 is 80% playtime equals $750K plus. That one I understand. I don't know what 70% plus team, 3 worst categories. 70% plus. Does that mean, I'm trying to figure this out logically. Does that mean that he has to be 70% or more of the team's 3 worst statistical categories on defense? And for each one that he is, for each one of those 3 categories, he gets $750,000? Or is it $750,000 for getting for being 70% or more of the team's 3 worst categories? I don't know. That one's I'm not sure. Anyway, there's number 4, 90% play time is 1 million maximum earn on incentives, 3.5 million. Right, so that's obviously throughout the entire season. 80% and 90% play time throughout the season. Number 5, got them to rescind $93,000 in fines for missing minicamp, so that's also cool, right? He gets that money back. With 17th game to base for 2021, bringing 2021 compensation fully guaranteed to $12.785294 million. Max for 2021 is $16.285294, right? So $16,285,294, right? So that's obviously basically what was said here, just in a little bit more broke down detail. 2022, move per game roster bonuses of $500,000 in 2022 to base salary and make it guaranteed for injury. Workout bonus of $100,000 removed and converted to base salary in 2022 and make it guaranteed for injury. Got full, and beautiful. Look, and that, now to be fair, these are all actually really small and minor tweaks and adjustments, but these are things that they could easily do to meet his, very win-win demands, right? Like, okay, got full amount of 2022 of 12.97 million injury guaranteed with conversion to fully guaranteed first day of league year. Brilliant. See? Brilliant. Thank you guys for doing this. Got 6.775 million of 2022 salary fully guaranteed at signing. So there's layers to this, man, and it's beautiful. Okay, so let's continue on because there is a lot more to talk about. This video is probably going to be pretty lengthy. What did Xavien Howard get? 1 million Pro Bowl incentive, blah blah blah. Okay, we already know all that. Howard has 4 years left remaining on the 5-year extension he signed, and now it's a far better contract than it was. Now those 2 back-end years, right, 2023 and 2024 still kind of suck, but they said they can revisit after this year. So if he has another great season, which as long as he stays healthy, I expect him to, right, is he going to get 10 interceptions? I don't know, probably not. I hope so. That would be dope as fuck. I would love to see it, but it's hard to do. Could he reasonably get somewhere between 6 and 8 though? Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Right? Anyway, so continuing on. He led the NFL in interceptions in 2020 with 10. Also led the league with 20 pass breakups. The first NFL player to reach double digits since 2006 and was selected to the AP All-Pro first team and the Pro Bowl. Flores said there never was real concern that the situation wouldn't get resolved. Okay, whatever. I mean, I guess, and he obviously has some behind the scenes, but I call bullshit just because, again, bro, I mean, especially when you know some of the behind the scenes stuff about how Flores is really actually not completely sold on Tua and how they were really pushing to get Deshaun Watson, and Xavien Howard was part of that deal and stuff, and they have been fielding calls for Xavien Howard, so okay, I guess, but I'm gonna call bullshit on that a little bit at least. Look, he's a very good player, Flores said. We want him back. We wanted him here. We want him here, and he's here. We're excited to have him. The level of concern, I can't say that there was much level of concern. I think Chris, Brandon, X's representation, there was always communication. I mean, that's just a lie, though. I'm going to call that right here. That's a lie. There was not always communication. We know that. I mean, there are plenty of fucking reports and, sources that have confirmed and whatever that the Dolphins for such a long time were just not even talking to him. So, and even as training camp began. So that is definitely a lie. Anytime there's lines of communication that are open, there's dialogue, there's concessions, compromise, whatever you want to call it on both sides. Well, that's how it is generally supposed to work. But that didn't happen until just the past couple days. So let's be clear about that. And again, it was because Tua is balling out and shut down the Deshaun Watson stuff, and because the rest of the secondary has been getting roasted in training camp. Those are the two key pieces of fundamental information that change the dynamics of this situation. Let's see. On our side, there definitely were concessions. When you do that on a case-by-case basis with certain parties, this instance, we're always going to do what we feel is best for the team. Yeah, we're excited to have him. Also, this is exactly the kind of precedent that you want to set. It gets rid of a lot of the drama. It fucking pays your best player, who happens to be a top 3 at least at his position. And it shows that if you go out and you have the kind of year that Xavian Howard had last year, then yeah, we will be willing to talk to you, just like they will be just as quick. They'll be fucking lightning quick to cut you if you don't have a good year, right? So they got... A good organization has to be willing to revisit players' contracts if they outperform it, right? Just like they will be super quick to cut players if they underperform. So, yeah. Howard has been limited in practice for most of training camp because of an ankle injury, and Flores said that would remain the case for the time being. Yeah, because they got it. Look, I mean, let's keep it real. They can't just immediately throw him back in, because then it looks a little fishy. There are certain protocols or whatever. So there, but it's interesting because they had practice today. I mean, we'll see. We'll see if he practices this upcoming week. I actually don't think it would be a really big deal if he didn't. But with the Bears, so we'll see. But they're gonna, bring him back slowly, and then. But I would guess that he should be back soon. I would think he's likely to be back sometime next week. Maybe even play, a series or two in the preseason game at this point. We'll see. I hope so, because I definitely want to see him out there, in full capacity with the team as soon as possible. Let's see. News of the contract modification comes 2 days after Flores said the Dolphins did not want to trade Howard. Look, we're excited to have X. Flores said he obviously a very good player, good teammate. You can see that by the way his teammates support him. Look, I'm a one day at a time guy, so that's how we're going to approach things. In any negotiation, compromise is important. At the end of the day, we want all sides to be happy. Well, look, I mean, at least, again, in this context, in this situation, he was proven correct, so I have to keep it real, right? So even though I call some bullshit on some of the stuff he said in there, I mean, they did fucking come to an agreeable thing, and both sides are now going to be, happy for it. We feel like that's the case right now, and that's how we'll move forward. All right, let's continue on, though. Because there's a ton more to talk about. So there's this other article, though, that he put out regarding Xavian Howard. Howard discusses his new contract. This is interesting, though. All-pro cornerback Xavian Howard is looking ahead now that his contract issue with the Miami Dolphins has been resolved. Let's get that stupid ad out of here. Okay. Quarterback Xavian Howard got his wish when the Miami Dolphins modified his contract, though his reaction to this development was rather subdued when he spoke to the media after practice Sunday. Howard used the phrase happy to be here 6 times during a media session that lasted about 3.5 minutes, but he showed very little emotion. To be clear, and let's be fair, that's... and I mean, you saw him during the other press conferences when he was saying that nothing was getting done. That's pretty much how he is, right? He is generally a man of few words. So, take that for what you will. But maybe, maybe he's gonna, look to go out and ball out this season and then revisit the contract again and be like, okay, let's guarantee me some more money, right? So, hey, go ahead, bro. I support him. If he does that, if he balls out again this year and has, whatever, fucking 6+ interceptions, a bunch of passes defensed, plays the entire season, helps us fucking, hopefully make it to the playoffs or at least have a good year, right? Like, I'm certainly happy to fucking revisit and guarantee more, right? And do it, because look, they can just on a year-to-year basis at this point, they can just continue to restructure his contract for the last couple years in similar ways to the ways they just did it, right? So they could literally do this exact same thing next offseason. With the same way with, they could guarantee certain parts of the 2023 season, right? Just like they did this year. They can add certain incentives for playing time, for production, whatever. They could do a combination method and do the exact same thing next year. On being happy about staying in Miami, stupid ads. I'm happy. I was always happy to be here and be with the team that drafted me and sticking through it. On his reaction to the deal, I was just happy about the whole situation, just happy to be here competing for the team. On his level of concern that the Dolphins would modify his contract, at the end of the day, we got it done. So all the other, I don't even worry about it. I'm just happy to be here. So look, I'm going to read into that a little bit. To me, and especially when you pair it with what Cantor said, I think he was concerned. I think that he requested a trade. So and with the way that they were stonewalling him for so long, I think he legitimately thought that it was going to come to that, right? But a little bit of a PC PR kind of answer, right? But that's right though. That's right, because but he is right in what he said. At the end of the day, it got done. So we can move on, right? There's no reason to hold grudges. It's important to keep that stuff in mind so you can understand how to work with these people going forward, because that is their history and their track record. So you don't forget it, but you also don't sit there and dwell on it, and you don't go out of your way to hurt them still for some, weird, odd, sick reason, right? Like, there was an agreement agreed upon. So let's be happy about that and move on. And that's right. So I'm being able to focus on football now. That's the ultimate goal like that. Just be out here playing football. Football is fun. Been doing it since you were a kid. So that's what it's all about. Just having fun. Everything will take care of itself. On having any kind of nice moment, maybe a hug with either Greer or Flores. Yeah, we're just moving on, man. I'm here. I'm right here. That's the whole thing. Being out here helping the team win the best way I can. So I don't know, that kind of sounds like, yeah, we didn't hug. We may have shook hands. I'm going to remember this stuff, and I intend to ball out this year and then revisit. But the important thing is that it got done, and I'm here. So now I can focus on football and ball the fuck out. Anyway, so yeah, like we said, it was rather subdued to say the least. Of course, Howard always has been reserved in his dealings since he arrived in South Florida as a second-round pick in the 2016 draft, so it would have been out of character for him to start joking around or flashing a wide smile through the whole media session. As I mentioned, that's just kind of how Howard is. But the other factor at play is that while Howard no doubt is happy that the Dolphins budged and modified his contract, it might be an issue again next offseason. And I just, alluded to that, right? And that's what I'm saying. But the Dolphins could literally do the exact same thing, right? Along with adding $3.5 million in incentives for 2021, rescinding the fines he incurred for skipping the mandatory June minicamp, and guaranteeing about $6.8 million of Howard's 2022 salary, the Dolphins also agreed to revisit the contract after this season, which I think is really important, man, because that shows a willingness to forego your ego and actually set good precedents, man. It's not a bad precedent to set. That's a fabulous precedent to set. That, however, is down the line. The bottom line is the Dolphins and Howard figured out a way to make things work for 2021, and now the cornerback can focus solely on what he does best. My goals this year, Howard said in response to a question, after the season you'll see the goals, but I don't want to put it out there like that. As a team, we want to win, and that's the only thing I'm worried about now. So yeah, I mean, he just said it, but didn't say it there. After the season, you'll see the goals. What that means is my goals are going to be going to get more money because I'm a fucking ball out this year. But it's not about just me. It is about the team, and we are trying to win, etc. Okay, let's move on because we have a lot more. So we are now going to actually transition into the actual training camp stuff. Before I get into Alan Pupar's, news and notes, his highlights and anecdotes and stuff, we are going to talk about some unfortunate injury news. So let's get into that. Long carted off the practice field, Dolphins rookie third-round pick Hunter Long sustained a leg injury during practice Saturday, and now he was carted off the field. So before I get into this, like I said, bro, my number one issue so far in training camp has been injury/COVID. We've gotten, it seems literally every single day we're having at least one new injury, and that is massively concerning to me. And so look, that's what, so I hadn't mentioned this yet, but look, with the Xavien Howard signing, you guys know that my record prediction up to this point has been 6-11. With the Xavien Howard signing, with the projection of a better run defense and a better pass rush, we obviously have to wait and see if that actually does translate onto the field and in games, but I do reasonably expect that those two things will be better. And now that Xavian Howard's back there, even with my concerns with the rest of the secondary, I feel a lot better about it. And so with that, getting him taken care of, I'm willing to add another, at this point, I'm willing to add another game to their win total. So I'm taking them now to 7-10 on the season. The reason why I'm not willing to go any further than that is because that secondary is my third biggest concern. That offensive line really scares the shit out of me. And, you know, then injuries and stuff. And here's, you know, an example. So let's get into this. The Miami Dolphins have had their normal share of minor injuries in the early portion of training camp, but they might have suffered their first significant setback of the summer. All right, deep breath. Rookie third-round pick Hunter Long was carted off the field Sunday. This is actually the first time I'm reading through this. After he sustained a leg injury during practice. I'm just reading through all of these articles for the first time right now. The tight end from Boston College was injured during a 2-minute drill after catching a pass from quarterback Jacoby Brissett on a crossing pattern. After getting close to the sideline, Long got tangled with defensive back Nate Holley and ended up on the ground. After being examined by trainers on the field, he was placed on a cart without putting any weight on his left leg. The Dolphins are already missing fellow tight end Mike Gesicki, who has been out since being put on the reserve COVID-19 list August 1st. The Dolphins have 5 other tight ends on the roster: Durham Smythe, Adam Shaheen, Sathan Carter, Chris Myarick, and Carson Meyer. Players who missed practice because of injuries Sunday were wide receiver Will Fuller, safety Brandon Jones, who has an ankle injury that happened like just yesterday, wide receiver Albert Wilson, and edge defender Jalen Phillips, who is still out. See, man, I'm telling you, bro. And just these injuries and stuff concern the shit out of me. The Dolphins placed veteran guard tackle DJ Fluke on injured reserve last week before he went through one practice. He began camp on PUP before being moved to IR and eventually was released off injured reserve with an injury settlement, which I think is a mistake by the Dolphins. They should have just kept him around, man, and let him heal. You could have stashed him on IR if you needed to, especially because of the fact that, you know, IR is just like it's designed like it was last year. You can take players off sooner. You can take more players off than in years past, right? I think it's just one additional player. But, you know, so I think that's going to be a mistake, especially because, again, that offensive line really scares the shit out of me. All right, so there's that. Some unfortunate injury news. Man, it is what it is. But like I said, it scares me. I mean, because we're only just finishing up week 2 of training camp, man. And, you know, we got goddamn... Our first preseason game is this upcoming week, right? And look, you know... If we're keeping it real, I haven't actually... So I've had some minor concerns about Jalen Waddle's injury because he just came off one. But I haven't been overly concerned in general, and certainly not with everybody that talks about his limp. Because I think he actually genuinely does just walk like that. He's got a little bit of a gangster lean. Let's keep it real. And that's cool, right? But yesterday he had a compression sleeve on, and... You know, there are some indications that he actually might have a legit injury. And so, and they've been also using him on special teams, and they're probably going to do that in the preseason. And that scares the shit out of me too, man. Because if they get him injured, whoo, boy, oh boy, oh boy, man. And look, I just gave them an additional win, but that's what I'm talking about, man, because that secondary kind of scares me behind Howard. That offensive line really scares me. And those things could be daggers in the back, especially for the season. Especially if, you know, then injuries, man, if they start to pile up, God forbid, knock on wood, whatever, if we were to lose, like, you know, Benardrick McKinney, who's supposed to improve our run defense significantly, right? He's a major reason why I expect that it will. You know, if And he's got injury history. Shoulder, right? We've talked about that a little bit and how that could happen, man. You know, Jalen Phillips, who's been missing significant practice time. If he gets injured, who's supposed to improve our pass rush? If somebody on that defensive line gets injured, right? Or if it, with as many question marks and concerns as that offensive line has, what if we sustain an injury there, right? So, whew. All right, let's get to these training camp notes and observations, because this is the last article that we have to get to, and then we will go ahead and wrap it up. But highlights, lowlights, and observations from the 9th practice, day 11 of Miami Dolphins training camp. The Dolphins practiced Sunday in front of season ticket members, all of them happy about the big Xavian Howard news. Absolutely. There also was good news relating co-offensive coordinator George Godsey, who had been out since he reportedly tested positive for COVID-19 last Sunday. It's funny, I was actually just thinking about that yesterday, but so Godsey's finally coming back, which is good news. But we'll see how COVID and injuries play a role this season. And again, as I just mentioned, I have my concerns for that. The practice attendance report looked like this. Albert Wilson and Brandon Jones joined Jalen Phillips and Will Fuller on the injury list of players who are out. Devontae Parker wearing red jersey, AVG and Malcolm Brown were back. So some slight positive news there. Obviously, overall, though, the injury news is pretty bad. With Albert Wilson, Brandon Jones joining the list, and then Hunter Long ended up being carted off, and we have to wait for more details on that, but on what the exact injury is and what a timetable will be, but that's significant and just not good news. The first offense versus defense drill featured 3 receivers against 3 defensive backs from the 6-yard line. The highlight of the session was Kirk Merritt's high grab and toe tap in the back of the end zone off a pretty Tua pass. Jamal Perry had a nice pass breakup against Brissett in the drill near the goal line. Howard is at left cornerback on the first play of 11-11, which is a quick slant to Matt Collins from Tua in front of X. Howard sits out the first team defense's second turn in this 11-11, with Jason McCourty taking his place at left cornerback. Like I said, I do expect them to do a slow return, be easy with him, work him back slowly, and obviously they are still trying to get reps for some of these other guys. That was always the case, but I do expect him to start ramping up pretty quickly with his first team reps. Salvan Ahmed just had a long run, but the officials called holding on the play. The flag was thrown after Ahmed had gotten outside, which means it almost certainly wasn't called against an offensive line. Okay, maybe by a wide receiver, like a block in the back or something. Devontae Parker is taking part in drills that feature offense versus defense wearing that red jersey. Howard was on the field for the start of a 7-on-7 period. Jakeem Grant dropped a touchdown pass from Tua in the back of the end zone. And you got to keep it real, man. He's had too many. I don't think it's been as much as, I don't agree with people that he drops them all the time and stuff, but he does. It's too often, and he definitely needs to get better at that, man. Anyway, hand reliability has always been an issue with Grant, though. He's overall been good in that department in camp. Grant came back to catch a touchdown pass from Tua at the goal line on a nice throw in traffic, so he at least made up for it. Cornerback Justin Coleman had great coverage against Jalen Waddle in the corner of the end zone, forcing an incompletion. Waddle was practicing despite dealing with soreness in his right leg. Rookie safety Javon Holland. See, and look, here's the thing, right? So if that ankle is not all the way back, it could be causing some other what's the word I'm looking for here? Basically connected issues, right? So it might not necessarily be the ankle that's the problem, but it might be affecting other things in other parts of his leg, whatever, and cause additional wear and tear and soreness and bruising or whatever that wouldn't otherwise be there. That's possible. I don't know. Obviously, that's something we're going to have to keep our eyes on. Rick had a nice goal line when it appeared Matt Collins was ready to secure a touchdown throw from Tua. Tight end Adam Sheen made a great high point reception to catch a 10-yard touchdown from Tua. Isaiah Ford had a bad drop of a touchdown pass from Tua. Xavian Howard got a big round of applause when he broke up a quick slant for Tua intended for Ford. Howard came back with great coverage against Hollins on the next play, leading Tua to throw away from the 2 and out the back of the end zone. See, and that's when Howard's out there, bro, Tua's not going to be, look, I think Tua's going to be fine, and as long as that offensive line does its job, I think the offense has a chance. And obviously we can't sustain a ton of injuries. But, you know, that secondary behind Howard is not the same. But when Howard's out there, it's going to be a lot harder for him. So, but that's good for Tua. That's good for Tua because it ups the level of competition he has to go against. Waddle had a high snag of a Tua pass at the start of 11-11 period. Grant made a nice adjustment to catch a Tua pass that was tipped by Eric Rowe. Grant later had to go to the ground to catch a pass over the middle. He has rebounded very well from his earlier drop. Go ahead, kid. I love to see it. You guys know I'm a Grant fan. Best catch of the day belongs to Isaiah Ford, who jumps, tips the ball to himself, and brings down a pass in the back of the end zone. Rookie tight end Hunter Long went down hard on the sideline after catching a pass from Brissett and is lying face down on the ground. Now turns over. Trainer's looking at his left leg. He was carted off the field, as we already know. Rowe intercepted Tua in the middle of the field on a 2-minute drill. Tua went straight to tight end Adam Sheen and gestured that he expected Shaheen to turn around at the point of the pick while Shaheen continued running downfield. So obviously miscommunication and the young quarterback doing what he's got to do to fix it. Jacoby Brissett had a beautiful completion of about 20 yards to tight end Sathan Carter. Jason Strourbridge, wow, finally a Jason Strourbridge sighting. Beat Adam Pankey to get a would-be sack of Brissett in a 2-minute drill. Zach Sealer batted down Brissett's pass at the line. Linebacker Sam McGuaven got pressure on Brissett on the next play. Holland intercepted Tua on a deep pass intended for Grant in another 2-minute drill when Grant was well covered downfield. Practice ends with Dolphins players running 50-yard sprints. Howard is not on the field for the sprints, and the same for tackle Larnell Coleman, who walked off the field with a trainer. Jesus Christ, a possible another minor injury. Good news, though, is that Jalen Phillips is doing the sprints. That's obviously an encouraging development for the rookie first-round pick. Good Lord. All right. Well, that is about it, my friends. That is going to wrap it up for today's very info-packed video. But like I said, man, even though the injuries are overall negative, there is some obviously there was some good news in that department, but with the overall perspective from today and, you know, through training camp to this point, it's still a big concern. But the news overall on the day is overwhelmingly positive and good because of the Xavian Howard situation getting resolved. So we can take a big sigh of relief in that regard, but we do still have to stay vigilant and we still have to pay attention because, again, at the end of the day, everything is not necessarily all good, right? There are still, it doesn't, just because that happened doesn't just magically fix everything, right? There are still concerns. Injuries, COVID being my number one, that offensive line being my number two, and number three being the secondary behind Howard. So let's just keep an eye on it, man, and let's hope for the best. Hopefully all those things get resolved, right? Hopefully all those players on the offensive line and secondary step up. Hopefully the injuries and COVID situation tapers off and goes away. But we will have to wait and see. Things are going to ramp up, certainly, though, going from here. This is the last practice for today, so there are going to be 2 days off. Tomorrow and Tuesday, Monday and Tuesday will be off. They will start practice again this upcoming week on Wednesday after they get to Chicago. So their joint practices with the Bears. And then on Saturday, there will be a preseason game, our first preseason game, first Dolphins game of the season, just an exhibition game. Probably not going to see the starters a lot, but I'm super pumped. I can't wait. My main focus is going to be that offensive line, and obviously those top three concerns are going to be my primary focus. And then I'm going to be watching, obviously, in addition to that, I'm obviously going to be watching everything all together. The whole picture, but those are going to be my main focuses. And then, see how Tua's looking for the limited time he's out there. See if Howard's out there, right? And all those kinds of things. So, and obviously I mentioned that I'm not going to be doing a live stream this week for the preseason. I expect that when the season comes around, I will be doing my own live streams for all the games. But for the preseason, I think I may just go join Reason's live show. We'll see, you know, TBD on this stuff, but this week for sure I'm definitely going to join Reason's live show, and obviously I'll be watching the game on my screen, but I'll be in his chat and, you know, watching his live stream reaction of it. So all right, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns in the comment section. And of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Phins up.